I'm about
But
to
yeah.
put a little cheeky spoiler alert in because we're about to talk about Taejin, the evil
Taken.
bleep 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 bleep.
Is that him from Goblin? Yeah,
This
yeah,
girl
yeah.
has to
When
bring
it was
Goblin
the
into
younger
everything.
person.
We eat it. Goblin. We watch another show. Remember Goblin. But you therefore she's gonna start singing.
Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome back to Fav and Co. Sorry we've been a bit AWOL, but we're back again. And this time we're back with Dali and the Cocky Prince. Kazara, can you please talk about the plot, please?
Of course. So the plot is basically a romance between a guy whose family owns like 400 franchise stores. They basically sell pork, I think, like pork restaurant.
Yeah, Gamja Tang.
Yeah, Gamjanta, exactly. And then the main character, female lead, is the daughter of like a really prestigious family who own an art museum that is on the verge of collapse. So they met in Amsterdam to start off with, and then they find obviously met in Korea as well. And then you have other characters around. You have the people that work in the museum. Then you also have Taejin, who is Dali's first love, and also
And his
the evil
ex-fiance.
villain. Yes, the evil villain. And then you have also One Tak, who is Min Jae, one of Min Jae's best friend. And then you have other people like around them as well, like Mo Hak's brother. So Mo Hak is the main character, male character
That's right,
lead, and then Kim Dali is the female
main
character lead.
character. Yes. So, as usual, we're going to talk about the plot, and once we talk about the plot, we're then going to talk about character development in addition to chemistry with some OST, our highlights, and what we don't like and what we like, and then the review. So, moving on to the next part, we're going to talk about the characters and the character development while we're talking about the characters. So, for me, I really like Kim Dali's character because, so yes, she's a heiress and she grew up rich, and along the way we found out that she was actually adopted, but that doesn't really change the fact that, you know, she's quite a nice person. However, what then happened is that when she went bankrupt overnight due to the untimely death of her father, she had a lot of debt and she had to sort it out. But it's just that the maturity that came with that was really nice and refreshing to see that it was a bit overwhelming for her. And I love the way that she handled it quite gracefully, and how she was able to like rely on her senses, because obviously she's not like the most street smartest person ever, but she had skills and she was quite educated. She had a PhD and everything, so she was able to use those skills to like try and revive the art museum that was her father's legacy, and she was able to revive it even with Muhak being a delinquent and, you know, trying to set her was trying to set like a bad light, what to call it, in the media, because she owed him money based on him loaning her dad before he passed away. So that was really nice and refreshing, because I love the way like some of the situations she found herself in was a bit alarming. So for example, she got like very harassed in like a hotel room because she was trying to save money, and then they finally caught the guy, and then she literally threatened the guy with some words, and then it was quite nice. She wasn't that cowed out, she wasn't cowed eyes, so she wasn't like, oh my god, like, you know, this sensitive thing, like, oh no, oh my god, save me. She was more like, no, I got this, I can save myself. And I really like that, because it's quite refreshing that she can stand on her own 2 feet, even though obviously she's scared deep down. She just knows no one's ever going to be there for me, so I need to take a step and do what's right for myself. And I really like that.
And I feel like you can see her character development because in the beginning she's a bit spoiled. Daddy does everything for her. Everyone
Yeah,
around her makes sure that she's looked after. She doesn't have to worry about anything whatsoever. Everything's taken care of.
exactly,
And then
exactly.
obviously when her dad, she has to step up, and you can see like the uncertainty that comes with that. And I love
Mm,
the fact that she started to step up, like especially when they had to promote the new art. Like, and that one thing I love about Mohawk's character wasn't the fact that he was there like, oh, let me hold your hand through it. Literally would have a go ahead, like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're literally a
exactly.
walking, like, your money. Like,
It's more
anything
of an
you do is
encouraging,
money.
isn't it?
Yeah, like you just motivate her, and then she'll be like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. So he never like tried to inhibit her or try to be in her way. It was always like, you need to step up because people are relying on you. Like, you can't be a spoiled brat anymore. And I feel like the reason why he was also like that is because he's been through life experiences and he's always had to stand
Yeah,
on his own 2 feet from young. So he's starting to teach her like, if you don't do it, no one else will. Like if you don't stand up for yourself, like you can't. You have to rely on yourself first, and then everyone
And then
else.
we're going to Mohawk, and with Mohawk's character, I really love Mohawk's character because he actually came from like he was, he was poor. He grew up poor, but then he worked his way with the Gamtang restaurant, and then he became a franchise, and then done on FB with the pig. I don't know if you watched it. Well, you should have watched it by now, but with the pig logo, that was so funny, and it was quite refreshing because it was still himself, and I love the fact he didn't really care that it seemed a bit, was not clueless, but ignorant. It seemed a bit ignorant, but he knew this, but he can't help it because while everyone was revising and studying, he was trying to help his dad's business. Hence why he's lacking a bit. Hence why I really liked him, because it's not like ignorant that he doesn't know his ignorance. He knows his ignorance and he's always trying. So it's quite hilarious, like whenever he's trying, because it doesn't know nothing about art, but it still tries, and the chemistry was quite nice. I like that. I like this character development. It was quite nice.
And I love the fact that
you have anything to add for Mohawk?
Yeah, and I love the fact that, like you said, like he is quite ignorant, but he's not ashamed of who he is, and he's not like, he's quite confident in himself. He's not ashamed of like his background or his family, like where they came from, because even when he came face to face with Adrian, who's the ex, he was like, like, we sell pig, that's what we do. But
a scene was really hilarious was when they were in the mall, right, in the shopping center, and then Dali was buying stuff and I can't go decline, and Dali was like, please pay for me because I didn't want Tajin, who's the ex-fiance, to pay for her. So then he was like, oh, do you take discount codes? Do you have a discount? Because I'm trying to save all my money. But bearing in mind, he's actually a millionaire, but he's obviously, he's a savvy guy. So
that hustle mentality,
that was so hilarious.
It's still there.
Yeah,
still there.
So that was quite nice. Yeah. And then the character that I developed quite well was also Mohawk's brother. I think, what is this, Jin Kijo? Let me just see his name again. I wrote it down here. Jin Kijo. So with Mohawk's brother, so basically what it is it's actually a step brother. So his dad, Mohawk's dad, remarried and married the stepbrother's mom. And what happened was he then changed his name to Mohawk's dad's last name. So he's always trying to become that person that Mohawk's dad wants. So he's always doing like little schemes to get rich quick so that he can get solidified and stuff. So that's how Mohawk actually got into Dali's dad's financial trouble, because obviously his brother was like, oh, help me with this person because it's an art museum and they get a lot of money. And when everything went bankrupt, right, when Dali's dad died, he was like, oh, by the way, you're on your own. So the way he switches, it was quite like, oh, you know what, I'll actually throw you under the bus just to make sure I get the approval of your dad. And we see that several times until Mohawk actually got like physically injured and he realized that, oh my God, I need to change my behavior. So that's when he actually redeemed himself. But it was a bit too late, but he still redeemed himself. So that was quite refreshing, that it wasn't bad through and through. Like, it still had that, of course, we're not blood, but we grew up together. So you're my brother. And I like that.
But I feel like that was also partly because of the dad's fault. Like, even though he changed his name, he never really saw him. He always pitted them against each other. Like, it was never like, look up to your brother, look at what it's always like. If one son does well, it's like, you're great. If the other son does well, it's you're great. And Mohawk never saw him like that. He was just like, look, I don't really care. Like, you already did my mom dirty. I'm not surprised. But obviously his little brother was always trying to feel like he needed to do more to measure up to the dad's standard because he's not his real son. So, and then you see like he actually does care for him as a brother, like they care for each other as brothers. And you can see that when he tried to be a bit more ruthless in order to save his brother's life rather than use it against him, which is really, really good.
Well, another thing I should also mention was that just like a lot of K-dramas, the dad, like majority of the dramas, again, the parents are also a problem. So for example, the dad was absolutely, I don't want to say useless, but it didn't really do much. It was more of a problem. So for example, it usually like threatens Kijo that, or if you don't do this deal properly, you're gonna have to revert your name. You can't be my son anymore. And I don't think that's nice, because like how can you say that to someone that you like grew up with you for like a good 20 years, and all of a sudden because of a business transaction, yes, it might be millions, you're literally threatening that, and you know that's someone's sore spot. That's not nice. And even the way he behaved with Mohawk, he was cheating on his mom while his mom was in a deathbed. So obviously those are the problems that happened. And I don't really see any character development until obviously Mohawk got physically injured, and then he decided that, oh, I'm going to be a good father and stay with him for like 2 years, which I'm just like.
And one thing I forgot to mention about the plot as well is the fact that the reason why Dali's dad, like, also there was things going on. Obviously, if you watch K-drama, you always know there's development problems, rich
Backstories.
people trying to get more money. So that art museum was on the verge of bankruptcy because they were trying to sell it off. Several high-power people were trying to sell it off so that they can build new buildings onto that land.
Yeah.
And Dali's dad was not accepting it. And then
That's
also
right.
Dali also had a problematic brother / cousin who was also like trying to get the, you know, working with the enemy as well. So there was a lot of like side characters in there that had their own agenda and the reason why they were there as well.
Yeah, there was also Wuntak too, and Wuntak is, I would say, Dali's young, so it's someone that Dali's dad took under his fathers just to like nurture because it was also an orphan, and obviously I felt like because Dali was also an orphan, they gravitated towards each other and they tried to make each other better. But fortunately for Wuntak, he actually became a police officer, so it was also like the lead police officer and trying to understand how Dali's father passed away untimely, and that was also quite nice because it was like different sides to all coming together, because at first it was a lot of little puzzles and then gradually as you watch it, it comes together. It was quite refreshing because you can really guess it, but you can't guess it because you're like, no, that's not possible, until you find the villain and then the villain is like, oh my god, no flipping way. So I really like Dali and the Coffee Prince for that.
I'm about to put a little cheeky spoiler alert in because we're about to talk about Taejin, the evil bleep 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 bleep.
Taejin had the audacity. Like, honestly, this is why, like, just like how Pentas are shown us over and over again, with money you can do whatever you want, you know, honestly, because this guy got caught scot-free. So basically, as we said previously, Taejin was engaged to marry Dali, but then unfortunately he found out that Dali was adopted. And what K-drama has shown us over and over is the fact that if you don't have any parents, or if you're an orphan, or if you're an adopted, or if you're a divorcee, they tend to look down on you in society. So Dali was engaged to Taejin, who's a Chibo, which is a very rich guy, and he was head to like a group, his own group too, I think TJ group or something. So they were about to get married, and then he found out that Dali was adopted, and it was like, I can't have you because you're adopted, so you're not really of the blood of this line, so therefore I can't have you. So that was the first one. And then second one was that her dad then went on his knees to beg for Dali for Taejin to take Dali back, and obviously rejected Dali's dad. And then the third one, which is the mind-blowing one, was that when her dad had a heart attack due to a little spat the dad had with the uncle, Taejin was there. And then he stopped the uncle from giving him the medicine, saying, oh, because he's obstructing us from building this, you know, new building, like new community, because the art center is like in the center of everything, right? And then number 4 was that he had the audacity to come back and try to woo Dali and just gaslight her in several different ways. Like, it was just, oh my god, like, it was just very alarming, like, and a bit scary, I would say. Don't you think, Kazaro?
You know what was funny about this guy in the beginning? Dali is my world. I made a mistake. I'm sorry I hurt you. Came even to the funeral, like, anything you need, anything you want, I would be there for you. Only to find out you're the reason why her dad, like, obviously the person, but he was
moving the strings in the background. Oh god,
he was an accomplice to murder, because they could have literally given him medicine and taken him to the hospital, and he stopped the cousin. It was like, nah, you're not putting this. Literally, it is actually scary. And then he started getting annoyed, like, and I think he even tried to hurt Mo Hack as well, or Mo Tak.
Definitely,
tried to hurt Mo Hack.
I think his problem is that his problem was his problem. Like, at first he wanted Dali, but as soon as Dali wanted Mohak, it was like, how dare she go for someone who was beneath him? And it became a case of sabotaging, just doing everything for. Oh my god, it was a drama, guys. As for character development, there was a lot of characters too. I feel like a few one we should mention also is the politician's daughter, Chehi, I think, Chaki, that's it. Chaki, like, she also had a character development where she was this spoiled brat too, and she was in love with Mohak, but Mohak rejected her, and then they became friends. And from there, she found out that her dad was actually plotting bad things in the background, and then she stood up against her dad. And unfortunately, she then had to move out because her dad was not the person she thought it was. So I like the fact that she developed to become her own person due to circumstance, but she knew what was right and wrong, because sometimes some politicians will be like, oh, that has nothing to do with me, so I don't care. But she was like, you know what, it doesn't have nothing to do with me, but it's affecting people that I love. So therefore, I'll take a step back and leave. And I like that for her. That was a nice growth.
Yeah, one of my favorite, absolutely favorite character is what's it called? Is Miri, who is Mohawk's secretary. What a baddie!
Yes,
what
I was waiting for you to say it. I love her. I love her.
She was a baddie. Like, she was just honest. Like, I think
I love her.
And one thing I loved was the genuine love. Like, actually, all the people, not just the the head secretary, but also basically all the people that work in Mohawk's restaurant, like gangsters. We're still going to talk about our favorite scenes, because I have like one that's my absolute favorite scene. They all look like gangsters. They look like, if you've watched Korean dramas, you've seen what gangsters look like. Big and Monzu.
You want to fight? You want to toss him?
Hair packed by. They look like gangsters, but they all love him. He's got absolute the best people behind him, because they support him. Like, they'll go to war with him just to make sure that he's okay. And we see that at one point. And like the secretary as well, like, you can tell that she really cares for him, not just more than just a boss, like an older brother and someone that she really looks, or younger brother, or someone that she really looks up to, and like always makes sure that he's safe and tries to do what's best to make sure that he's in the best possible position. So she's one of my absolute favorite characters in there, that I feel like really made the drama as well. Which was really,
definitely, really, especially when it was being ignorant, and then she's like, she would have to whisper the rest of the scene, so that.
Yeah.
That
I have
nice.
You also have the people around Dali as well, like the people that end up obviously in the beginning they had no faith in her ethics, because they were like, she's a spoiled brat, she knows nothing about running an art museum, this position's been handed to her, and you can see they're trying to help her, but she also had to come to that realization herself, which I really like. That even though they were hard on her, they weren't like, get her out, she's an idiot. They were trying to be encouraging and being supportive, despite the fact knowing that they might not get what they want in the end, because they really respected her dad as well. And I'm glad that they ended up respecting her for her. Yeah,
because I was very much skeptical about the staff of the museum, because I was like, because I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time I feel like they should have been a bit more sympathetic towards her, because they tried to, but at the same time they're like, oh, I've got bills to pay, I've got school fees to pay and stuff. So I get it, but the girl is literally just stepping into a role that's bigger than her. So I feel like they were not very empathetic towards her, which was a shame. But obviously, as time goes on and she showed that she was able to fulfill the role, then they started warming towards her.
But I think it was I thought it was realistic that they weren't empathetic towards her, because they don't know her. It's not like she came to the museum and interned under her dad. It's like her dad passed away. He has this amount of knowledge.
I don't know. I just feel like, given the circumstance and given the people around the dad who couldn't actually step in, there was literally no one that could do a better job, because the cousin / uncle, he was already working for the dad and he was still stealing underneath him. And then we've got the dad's brother who doesn't do anything. So I feel like, it's either they close the museum and sell it.
That uncle, when someone can speak. If that guy's soul is actually Yoruba. When he was dissing Dahlia, I swear to God.
Yeah, he was like, she's not art.
She was like, she's a waste of space.
But he redeemed himself. Like when he
stay with people. Some of the things
I'm thinking, to Dali. If your sister or your sibling adopted somebody, you should always see them as that person's child, because that's how your sibling saw the person as. But he refused, because it's like, nope, you don't have our blood. And I'm like, okay.
Some of the things, there was a point where I was like, stop it. Or as they speak about Otito, my guy just kept going on and on and on. I was like, insult upon insult upon insult on the
that was bad.
Girl. Oof.
Well, moving on with the chemistry between characters, there was a very good chemistry between characters. It was very balanced. It was very realistic. It was nice and simple. Like I felt like nothing was forced. It was all natural. Like even the meeting in Amsterdam and stuff, which was one of my highlights. That was so hilarious with the wristwatch. The wristwatch. Yeah. So I really like the chemistry between, like, it was such a nice simple drama. I love it because you know, usually when dramas are nice and simple, they tend to want to add like a thriller part to it, and I'm just like, why can't we just have something nice and simple? So I really like the fact that it was simple. And you know, Mohak messed up a lot of times, but then he tries to fix it. Like for example, when he messed up the what's it called, the exhibition of the trash of the living, and then he packed it up and then he cleared it, and he was like, oh, this is all trash, I can get this from my house. And then he kind of ruined the exhibition, but he had to go back and apologize and, you know, did his way. So there was a lot of nice chemistry between all the characters, even the supporting characters and everyone else. I really like that part.
Yeah,
for them. Okay, let's see what's next.
OST,
sorry,
then highlights. OST.
Yeah, OST highlights first monster. With the OST, I think it was more instrumental. No, there was a lot of instrumentals, just like Do You Like Brahms? There's not a lot of like proper like track list. It was a lot of instrumental.
There was one song that I really liked. That I actually went and searched up.
Yes, same. I think I Shazammed it, and that was nice. But I think that's the only one I can think of.
We would play it, but copyright. So
yeah, copyright.
We'll post it in the video.
Yeah. But anyways, the OST was nice, but it's nothing memorable because I can't even remember it now.
I remember one that the fact that I searched it up, like it stayed. But I don't remember like how to sing it, but that was one memorable OST for me.
Yeah, I think if I was to watch it again and then it starts playing, it would definitely be like, oh yes. Or if someone plays, I'll be like, that's from, you know, Dali and the Cookie Prince. But for highlights, there's a lot of highlights, and I think for me it's definitely the watch. So basically what happened was when Mohak was going to Amsterdam for a meeting, he had this very expensive watch, and then his secretary was like, oh my god, don't take this watch, it's very expensive and it's like your most prized, you know, possession. And it was like, oh no, I love it, I'm going to take it so that I can show off. So when he finally like interacted with Dali and then he gained her trust, he was like, you know what, I'll take a leap of faith here, I'll give you my watch and then meet me back in your museum, you know, the next day. And then when he gave her the watch, he realized that, oh no, I actually don't know her number, I don't know where she works, I don't know what the museum is. But then at the same time, Dali also got a phone call from Korea saying her dad passed away, so she went off crying, and that's how his watch literally went missing for like the whole 16 episodes until the last episode when he was being petty. So that was so nice because I was just like, it was just so funny, the whole interaction regarding the watch. So I really like the watch.
I have two favorite highlights. One of my favorite highlights was when Mohak got his gang of friends to go to the museum to act like, basically these guys were kitchen staff, but like I said, if you know Korean gangsters, then they went and they did a madness, and then essentially they tried to pull Mohak away, and then they opened his shirt, like his button, and this boy had like he'd wore tattoos. And obviously in Korea, like if you have tattoos, you're a gangster. Like you look like a bad boy. And the people, like Dali has gotten them in trouble with gangsters because he'd gotten these people and they killed. It was so funny. Like I think that's one of I was laughing so hard because why? Yeah. And then my favorite highlight was how it ended as well. I thought it was so dramatic for those two, because they are very dramatic people. Even in the drama, like they're petty and they're also dramatic. And essentially how it ended was that we thought, you know, in typical Korean drama trope, that those two have not seen each other in 2 years. After Mohak got ill, he left and went off and, you know, did our own thing in Dali, and then he saw Dali.
Remember, Mohak's dad told her to stay away from Mohak.
Yeah, told her to stay away. And then obviously 2 years later, then they met at the restaurant, and it looked like they've not seen each other in 2 years, but it's only been 2 weeks. And
that was so hilarious.
And they were acting like they'd not spoken to each other for like 3 years. Like it was a lot of pain. And then but I liked how like dramatic it was, because it was
so dramatic. And I think for me, like after the watch, the highlight for me was definitely the interaction between Dali's adopted Hyung and Mohak, and when they decided they wanted to be in a relationship and then they had to hide it. So basically the backstory is that Mohak rented his upstairs flat to Dali's brother, and then oh my god, it's so hilarious, like the whole scene. So number one, when Dali went broke, she started living with her Hyung, right? And then he didn't know, so he was being super, super mean to Dali's brother, right? And then he didn't know it was a police officer. So it was just acting really, really mean, thinking, oh wait, are you a thug or something? Like, what do you actually do? So that whole scene was just hilarious. And then when they started dating, of course, Dali's Hyung was like, no, you can't date, this guy because it's so weird and it's so mean and it's all about money. It's all about preserving money, and they have to like do different things to like preserve. And then Dali then cooks for them this omelette. And it was so horrible. Like the omelette was so horrible, but then they had to keep eating it, and then she thought they liked it, so she kept making more. And then, oh my god, like the whole scene, that whole interaction of the trinity of Dali's brother and Mohake, just hilarious. That's like one of the highlights of the drama. Like it's always so hilarious every single time. Yeah, I like that.
So,
any other highlights?
I feel like for me, I loved any time Dali and Mohak were on screen. You could just see the chemistry and you could see the love from both of them, which I really, really enjoyed. I thought it was great, to be honest, when we look at it, because the chemistry he had with her was almost close to none. It was great. It was really, really good. Even like in the sad moments, encouraging Dahlia. Like he's a great actor. I've got to give it to him.
Yeah, man. He's a great. I think I knew he was a great actor since Goblin's days, isn't it? Is that him from Goblin? Yeah.
Has to bring Goblin into everything. We eat Goblin. We watch another show. Remember Goblin. But you therefore she's gonna start singing.
Exactly. It's very memorable. Like, you can't not reference Goblin. There's just always something from Goblin to reference. So any tropes or montage? One thing I also love about this drama is the fact that they have no childhood past. And usually when it comes to this type of drama, I really thought they were, because obviously the fact that she was an orphan. So I was like, ooh, they might do something, because Mohak was also like partially an orphan, because obviously his dad was not there and his mom passed away. So I thought they were going to meet up in childhood, but it didn't. So usually with K-dramas, when you've got a drama that's like, they've got similar backgrounds. So for example, Dali was an orphan, and with Mohak, he really didn't have a mom because his mom passed away and his dad was not available because he was doing stupid things. Sorry?
Deadbeat.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, his dad was basically deadbeat, yeah. So they'll usually have like a scene where like they confide in each other, and then, they talk about how they're struggling at home or in the orphanage. But thankfully, they didn't succumb to that. So they actually just met as an adult. So I really like them. So that's a trope that I was like, finally, like, even in Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, they did that. And I'm just like, is it every time we're up in childhood? Like, some people actually don't. Like, let's be realistic here. So I like that. Well, I think they had the rain scene. They had a lot of rain scene. Like, a shit ton of rain scene.
But one trope that I want to introduce is deadbeat dad, because that is becoming more common.
I know.
Dads in K-dramas used to...
Or like a very harsh mom.
Yeah. So they did have a trope of a deadbeat dad, and he was very, very deadbeat.
Yeah, he was very much deadbeat. Like, he didn't really contribute nothing, so... Yeah. Anyways, other than that, yeah, overall, moving on to the rating... I really like it. I'll definitely watch it again. I think it's got a very high rewatchable power. Like, it's nice and simple. It's got a lot of drama, but it's more refreshing than, heavy and thriller or anything. So I really like it. So for me, I think I can give it a 7.5. I think 7.5 is a good solid, because I can watch it again and again, but not something that I would overly miss if I don't watch it again. So 7.5, I would say.
I think I'll give it 8 because I like the plot. I like the fact that it was refreshing. And I like the fact that it was just different things happening there. And it wasn't too heavily focused on the corruption and the death, but we also had a really nice villain. I think that's important.
Yeah. Oh, the villain was great. I was starting to see it coming, but...
Yeah, I could as well.
Oh.
When he was like, these poor people, he's like, get this dead poor.
I know. You know the scene. Oh my god, sorry. You know the scene when I knew that he's definitely a bad guy was when he went to the hospital and he went to shake someone's hand, and then he was like, "Yep, I need to wash my hands." I was like, "What?" But other than that, I think that's everything, isn't it? Like, we've gone through everything. So overall, if you haven't watched Dali and the Cocky Prince, you should definitely watch it. It's quite refreshing. It's quite nice. And if you like Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, I definitely think you'd like this too.
Yes. Yes. Anyways, like, subscribe, Instagram, everything on here, and we'll be bringing you more stuff.
Yeah. So once again, happy new year and see you later in the year. And yeah, see you.
Annyeonghaseyo.